channel named Sanganisha Practical HR and Law. Uh, Today, in connection of the opinion in regards to health and safety of the employees. So I thought that it's necessary to make one video on the topic of the first aid. First aid is not necessarily be a part of the manufacturing unit and the factories as the law says, but in any kind of organization and in anyone's life there is a requirement to get first aid trained person for oneself, as because you know problems and the difficulties never knock the door. Suddenly we become a we become a convict to face any challenge problem in lieu of the physical illness, physical trouble, physical attack. There is a requirement of first aid, because as regularly I am making my videos on the safety, because safety is first in anyone's life, everywhere, not at the workplace only. So when we do talk about the safety, because of small negligence, uh, you know uh, any ignorance may cause a big accident which may affect the lives of so many people. But how can we be safe from that hazard if we are trained enough to give or to take the first aid? First is what? It's the key of life. It's a key of life. So everywhere there is a requirement of the first aid training. But today I am talking especially in connection of the manufacturing units of factories. So let's begin. One question comes in our mind that what are the provisions laid down under the Factory Act 1948 in regards to the health and safety? Yes. So now I am going to tell you the set provisions. Safety of the employee is the in the workplace is one of the biggest section of the Factory Act. Okay, 1948. Various safety provisions are provided based on the type of industry and type of work. Every workplace which has 1,000 or more persons where bodily injury is a possibility need to employ a safety manager. Health is also a major discussed topic. Every possible process and equipment in an organization should not pose any threat to the employee's health. Employee should also be prepared to face any uh, you know medical emergency and have provisions for the such circumstance. Okay, so these are the provisions which are normally laid down in the Factory Acts in regard to the safety. Factory Act also says that safety is prime. Let's see that what are the provisions laid down in the Factory Act in regards to the first aid training requirement for the workers. Okay, let's start. According to Article 11A of the Factory Act, every worker shall have the right to get trained within the factory or get sponsored by the factory to train where training is imparted for the health and safety. Okay. Next, according to the Article 45 of the Factory Act, every factory must have an accessible and fully equipped first aid box where one first aid box for 150 workers. When the size of the factory is more than 500, they need to have a ambulance room set up provide all the with the nurse or an ambulance inside the factory. Okay, so these are the provisions which makes it clear that first aid is also mandatory to be norms of the first aid or first aid training is mandatory to be provided to the employees as per the norms which are laid down under the section 11A or section 45 of the Factories Act 1948. The major point is there that for every 150 workers there is a requirement of one well equipped first aid box. What is the role of safety audits in regards to make assurance about the first aid training in a factory? Yes, safety audit in Factory Act 1948, of course. The routine safety audits conducted in every organization are largely based on the prescribed provisions of the Factory Act. Every safety auditor must make sure that the conditions in the Factory Act are met. Means for every safety audit, this is the prime objective of the safety auditor is to make assurance, is to make sure that all the provisions of safety are being performed which are laid down in the Factory Act 1948 into a particular organization where safety audit is being conducted. Hence, safety audit plays very important role to watch. Means they do have a keen eyes upon the related activity of the organization, means a manufacturing unit or a factory or a facility, that safety norms are being performed in a factory regularly, or on regular basis, and first aid training is the most important part of that to be performed or to upkeep in this said factory. Next is the issue that how does the first aid training is to be given into the factory as per the Factory Act 1948. Yes, Factory Act 1948 makes it clear that there is a requirement of in-house first aid training which may be given in a group, and the trainer which is the first aid training is to be imparted as per the norms of the OSHAS. Okay, OSHAS means Organizational Safety Health Administration. So you can train your employee in a group of maximum 30. Along with organizational certificate, every employee needs to be individually certified by the trainer. Hands-on training is required, okay, for the first aid certificate, but virtual training are not valid. If you are imparting virtual first aid training to your employees, that is not valid. Hence, it is clear that first aid training is required to be given as per the principle of OSHAS, and maximum 30 persons or employees may get first aid training in a group by a well trained or certified first aid trainer. The main point is this, that from where the first aid training is to be given in the factory. According to Factory Act 1948, every organization is free to take training from anyone else or organization with recognized knowledge and credibility. Some state government has also set up parameters to identify someone as a credible first aid training provider. There is no specific organization to take training from anyone until it's certified in BLS, ELS or medicines and has experience can train people in first aid. Means many state government has prepared or made parameters in regards to the first aid training provider, but it's necessary that first aid training provider should be well certified in BLS, ALS or medicines, or has experience who can train people in first aid. Next is the point which is related to that what should be taught in first aid training. Yes, what is a big question. So the answer is here. The Factory Act doesn't specify the course or contents for the first aid training. OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, on the other hand, has its guideline for first aid training, which is always make sure that your training is as per OSHA. So every factory or every organization where the Factory Act 1948 is applicable, so uh, they must ensure that their first aid training should fulfill all norms of the OSHA. That is, what is the full form of OSHA? Occupational Safety and Health Administration. What are the OSHA's first aid training norms? Yes, according to OSHA, factory first aid training must include number one, accessibility for OSHA. You know, assessing casualty in CPR, handling minor and major injuries like cuts, fractures, medical conditions like heart attack and strokes, environmental condition like hypothermia. Okay, so every factory must make it clear that the first aid training which is being provided there should met the norms or criteria as per the OSHA. Next is the point that what kind of first aid training do employee need? This is a very big question which comes normally in every employee's mind. So, first aid workshop range from BLS, basic life support, ALS, advanced life support, and first responder program. The kind of program you need depend upon the environment you are working in. For example, if you are working in an environment where injuries are common and frequent, you will need such an advanced training. But you might not need such training for the office or in IT sector. I told you in this very small video that first aid is very essential amenity which is to be provided in every organization. Especially today, if I am talking about the manufacturing units or the factories where Factory Act is applicable and where the chances or the risk assessment says that the chances of injuries or casualties are more or higher. So what does Factory Act says? I have told you that at every floor or place where 150 persons are working, there is a requirement of well equipped cupboard or first aid box. Okay, so what are the provisions laid down in the Factory Act? I have told you. What kind of first aid training is required? I have told you. From where the factory may get first aid training for its employed, that is also been discussed in this video. And what type of first aid training and what is to be taught during the first aid training in the factory, I have told you. So now we are coming into the conclusion that today every safety audit requires a first aid training certificate and ambulance room. Then factory has to make it sure, else the factory will face or run into a legal trouble if any incident or occurs inside the facility. The first is knowledge improve your employees' ability to respond during the emergency, therefore save the company's or life of so many people. First aid training is something that should not be done just for statutory compliance or norms, but it must much more than that. First aid is however, is the human skill that everyone should know. It literally saves life during emergencies, and nothing ever comes closer to save someone's life. So, friends, first aid is, as you know, besides all these provisions or legal requirement, everyone should be himself or herself first aid trained. It's very mandatory, especially for the factories, to provide first aid training to its employees. These days, suppose I'm sitting here, I'm taking round of factory. What do I see? On the notice board there is a display board. One board is displayed over there, the first aid trained persons into the factory. When we go to the floor, we used to find a first aid box over there. The list of medicines which is kept into that box are pasted besides the first aid box where it is installed, and the photograph and contact number of first aid trained person is also required to be pasted besides the first aid box. It would be better it will be a best practice for a factory if a green color or first aid sign, plus sign, or cap, or you know a basket may be provided to the first aid trained person, so in case of any emergency, employee may identify that this is the first aid trained person. Right, friends? Hence, the first aid is the basic need of day to day functioning in any manufacturing unit where there is a possibility of hazard. So, uh, I hope that in this small video I have told you about all the legal norms as well as some additional responsibility which are to be uh, provided by the employer, because employer has the sole responsibility to provide all the measures and to fulfill all the statutory compliance on the norms which are laid down under Factory Act 1948. And first aid is also one of the essential part in relation to the health and safety provisions of the Factory Act. So friends, I hope you would like this video, and if you are new, please don't forget to subscribe it. Moreover, I do welcome the comment. If you have any suggestion or your opinion in this regard, please try to contact me via comment in the comment section. Put your comment, and if you have subscribed my channel, please like or share. Thanks for watching this video. Thank you.